topic.
Okay.
If you ask me some scenarios in ACL, there was the scenario, this scenario, will it work? Will it work like this? Will the person have access? Will the person not have access? I'll also be in a dilemma sometime. I'll have to analyze. ACL is very, very complicated. Once you will read this entire document, you'll think that you have understood ACL. Then you will encounter some scenarios where your understanding is not working. So you will try to see, no, this is not how it works. ACL is very complicated in the system. There is reason for it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's not confuse you too much. Access control levels. Let's see the form of an ACL. So I told you a basic role of an ACL is to restrict. Now we will see. Okay. Now if I go into ACL form, there are things that we miss out to tell, but system will not miss out things. If I go into an ACL form, you can see you don't have a new button over here. Okay.
Yeah.
So in this course content, I have put something called as high security. There is something called as high security plugin, which is already activated in all the instances which is coming now. High security and contextual security. These are two plugins which is already activated. So if you activate a high security plugin, there are some things which an admin cannot do. If you activate a high security plugin, there are some features of the instance which are which are configured in such a fashion that even admins don't have access to this. So for
Okay.
that, we spoke about this lock button earlier in the initial class. So this gives us, if you check this and if you click OK, this gives the session a role called security underscore admin. That means the user logged in, the admin user who is logged into the system is having security admin role. In order to create ACLs or to modify ACLs, you need the security admin role. So you have to, this is basically called elevated privileges. So you will have to elevate your privilege in order to make changes to the ACL. Now if I go on to the ACL form, I can see a new button is over here. Got it?
Okay.
One more example is there is something called as background script background. This is a server-side code. It is just like a testing code. If I open this, it will just open a script executor for me. I can write whatever script I want and I can run it. This is just an example of what else is restricted by security admin. If you don't have a security admin role, you cannot change that background script. You cannot execute the background script. Okay. I'll not go on to
Okay.
background script. Let's click on new and see what is there in the form. Now tell me if I want to, I'll just minimize this. If I want to restrict something in a layman language, how will we understand? How do you want to restrict data, or how do you want to restrict configuration, or how do you want to restrict anything on the system? What approach should we follow?
If you want to restrict some access, you're saying?
Hmm.
Maybe we
Access in,
don't have, yeah, the roles should be limited to the person.
okay, the role should be limited. That is fine. Okay, from where I was coming in, like similar to all the other configuration that we have on the system, this configuration is also based on tables.
Okay. Uh-huh.
So
Okay.
we'll
So
give access
table
to
access. Okay.
we'll give access to users or to people or to system users, you can say, depending upon table. We'll give access to some table or will not give access to the table. Suppose somebody has to create business rule, we'll give access to that business rule or will not give access to that business rule. That is how we will be taking care of it. Okay. So first is the type. You can see there are four type of things are there. Either you want to give access to a record. I said everything in the system is a record. Everything in the system is a record, right?
Okay.
There can be a business rule is a record in the business rule table, client script is a record in a client script table, UI policies are also record, ACLs are also records, everything is a record in the system. So it says which type of data do you want to, or which type of object do you want to restrict. So most of the cases, see, I have not seen client callable script included in processors. I have not used ever. I've only used records and UI pages. UI pages also you will not use much because when we write UI pages, the ability to go to that UI pages is not given to all the people. That means there will be a link on which if you click you can go to the UI page. So that link is provided only to those people who are supposed to use that UI page. So normally you will not get the UI, you will not be able to, you will not be using the UI page option as well. 90% of the time you will be using only record. Okay.
Okay.
Next part, operation. This is important. You can see create, read, write, delete. These are the four operations that are used majorly. Create, read, write and delete. These other options are there but you will not be using it. You will be using it only once in a lifetime might be. Or to give you my scenario, I have used list edit once. I have not used other cases. If you want to
Okay.
see what is the use of all those things, you can just read over here. See, we don't give details of all these things because these things are not very much relevant. And if we try to emphasize more on these things, then our zest will be lost. Or whatever content we want to cover, that will get lost, right?
Yeah, okay.
Our focus will get deviated. So now the operation is important. That means you have to decide whether you want to like this might be clear: read, write, create, and delete. If I am giving read access to an incident to somebody, he will see the entire incident, but it will be grayed
Still
out.
not able.
He cannot
Yeah,
made any changes. Write means he can change, he can even change it. Delete means he can delete that incident. Create means he'll be able to create a new incident,
yeah.
just as the name goes. Now, if you see, there is something called as admin overrides. So in the system, if you check this, if you are creating an ACL and if you check this admin overrides, whatever you have created, that will not be applicable to admin. Admin will be able to see everything, irrespective of the ACL that you have created. Because if we are admin, we are the system administrator. We are supposed to see everything, right?
Yeah.
Excuse me. Just advanced. Just let me check this and see what's happening.
So is it advisable to check that for every ACL which we create in the system?
Admin overrides.
Yeah.
Yes, admin override should be checked. It is not something that is must, but normally we put in admin override. Suppose, because what happens is, suppose if I'm writing something on the incident table and I've written some of the incidents, and if the admin also cannot see it, if he is going onto the system and trying to search incidents, then he will have to think that if, is there any ACL written on it, he has to go to that ACL, he has to deactivate that ACL. So admin is basically someone who is having super access on the system, right? So he should
Yeah.
have access to the entire system.
Okay.
That is why it is normally advisable to put admin overrides over here. Now we can select the table in which we want to put access to. Suppose if I select incident table over here. Now what happens is there is something over here. There is something called star over here and there is something fields are over here. Okay. Star basically means you are writing this ACL on the incident table on all the fields. On all the fields. If you select a particular field, that means you are writing the ACL on the incident table only on the caller field.
Okay.
Suppose if you don't put anything over here, none, that means, see, basically there are two types of ACL, table level ACL and field level ACL. If you put incident only over here and you put none over here, this is the table level ACL.
Okay.
Okay. If you put incident and if you put
Start and field, all fields. Okay.
what sort of disturbance is there? Is it from your end?
No, I'm not able to hear any noise actually.
You are not able to hear me. Yeah, I'm getting some sounds. I'm hearing some screeching sounds. I don't know why. Okay.
Is it?
Yeah, I don't know why. Okay, let's proceed. Okay. There should not be. No, it was coming in middle only. Okay. So if I write something only on the incident, that means I'm writing only on the entire table. That means somebody will not have even access to that table. Okay. If I write star, star means all the fields on the incident table. And if you want to write for specific fields, you can specify the fields over here. Similarly, you have a star over here as well. Now there can be two meanings of the star. If you put star dot none, that means to all the tables in the system. To all the tables in the system.
Oh, okay.
If you put star dot star, it means all the tables and all the fields on the system.
Okay.
Okay. And if you put table dot star only, I have told you. These are the two options if you put star over here in the table. Okay. So star is basically, it will say that it is not for the or all, whether it is on the table. This is basically a table field. This is called the fields field. I can say it like that. So let's try to do an ACL. Let's try to write an incident.star ACL over here. So basically, what else do you require? See, what else do you require to write an ACL over here? Now, we said initially, as you also answered, that if we have to restrict access to some users, we do it via roles, right? But how do we define that which role is having what access? So that this is where we define. This is basically where we define. So over
Okay.
here, you can add the roles. Suppose if I want, what am I to do? Everything has changed. So this is taking me to the roles table. Suppose if I did we create a demo role, right? Okay. Suppose if I put demo role over here, and then depending upon whatever I have put over here, suppose if I put read over here, so this person will be able to read this. This person will be able to read this. This person with the demo role will be able to read the incident table, the entire table. Now
Okay.
a question will come into your mind that if the person with this role can read this entire ACL table, can the persons who are not having this role cannot read the entire incident table? Right? The question will appear in your mind.
Okay.
But it is not like that. Like suppose you might have written ACL, suppose for the incident table, if I show you, I'll go on to the ACL back. Let me see if there's something else in this form. These are conditions that you can add conditions also. Suppose if you want the ACL to run on some particular conditions, like suppose the demo the user with demo role can access the incident table only if certain conditions are satisfied, then you can put conditions over here. Okay. There's nothing else on this form. There's nothing else on this form, but the understanding of ACL does not end here. Wait,
Okay.
let's go on to suppose if I type over here, if I try to find how many ACLs are there on the incident table. So you see there are 34 incidents, 34 ACLs on the incident table. Suppose if I do the read ACL, there are 4 read ACLs on the incident table. If I open all these, there will be different level of users who will be able to access this. Over here in the script you have seen, see it says current means the current object. It says if the user is the caller ID, if the user is the caller of the incident, if the user has opened the incident, or if the user is in the watch list of the incident, he can read that incident. Similarly, if you
Okay.
go on to the other one, give me one second, one second.
Yeah.
Uh, Sorry, I was getting a call. Okay, so this other one also defines, we will not go into what it defines means, what is the basic purpose of it. I just wanted to tell you that there are n number of ACLs that can be written on a specific table and on specific fields. So if a logged in, see basically writing an ACL, you saw that the ACL form was not having too many fields, right? We can write an ACL, we can define an ACL, but understanding in ACL is important. I will give you a very brief, a good understanding of how an ACL works. Okay. We saw one diagram for inbound email actions, right? Similarly, we have a diagram for, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there, Pratham.
So similarly, there are two diagrams for, let me not go into diagram first, I will explain you how it works. First of all, whenever a user is trying to access any object into the system, what all ACLs can restrict it? Suppose if I talk about a field in the incident table, so there can be ACLs which is written, so I will take a field caller ID on the incident table for an example. There can be an ACL written on that specific field, like for the incident table caller ID field. There can be ACL written on the incident table for all the fields, like incident, normally we call it, like suppose if it is for caller ID on the incident table, we call that ACL incident.caller ID. Okay, so there might be an ACL written for incident.caller ID, right?
Okay.
There might be an ACL written which says incident.star, that means incident table and all the fields. There might be an ACL written which says star all the tables dot star all the fields, right? So there are different
Yes.
combinations of ACLs. Now suppose you get a scenario in which incident dot caller ID is giving me read access to that field, and incident.star is not giving me a read access to that field. In that case, what will happen? So ACLs are difficult because of these scenarios, because you can write multiple ACLs and they will start conflicting. Basically, it will not conflict. Our understanding is not very clear. Normally, if you have two conflicting ACLs on one field, if one ACL is giving you access, you will get access to that. If something is denying you access, that does not matter. But if something is giving you access, you will get access. Okay?
Okay. Mhm.
Now, one more important point is, just keep this point in mind. One more important point is, suppose I have given you access to caller ID field on the incident table. But now I define one more access at ACL in which I deny you access to the incident table at all. You don't have access to the incident table, and I'm telling you, I'm giving you access to a field in the incident table. In that case, you will not have access to that field because you don't have access to the entire
Understood.
table.
Okay.
That is very much well understood, right? But somebody, if you are configuring, you might have a doubt. I'm giving access to that field, but I'm not giving access to this table. So what will happen in that case? In that case, you will not have access because you don't have access to the outer table. How can you go inside the table and see the field over there?
Okay. Okay.
Coming down, one second. Coming down, I will give you a brief about one table which is over here. Not this one. This one. If you don't understand some part of it, it's okay because we don't expect you to understand the entire thing. This is basically the structure of how an entire ACL in the entire system works. Okay, so you can see over here the start says user requests access to an record object. Find ACL rules matching object. Now this is the sequence in which it will try to find an ACL rule. First of all, it will go and see ACL name matches. Suppose if we are seeing a field incident.caller ID, so it will try to find an ACL in the system. Is there an ACL written for incident.caller ID? If yes, it will go directly over. It will not see for all these things. If yes, it will go over here, match found, and it will go on to the second process. Okay, we'll see the second process afterwards. Now suppose if this match is not found, suppose we are searching for incident.caller ID and there is no particular ACL written for incident.caller ID, then what the system will do? I told you the concept of parent tables, right? So
Yeah.
if an ACL is written on the task table, that is also applicable on the incident table. Whatever are the inherited tables, the ACLs are also applicable on those tables. I forgot this point in the first go. Now, next, suppose if we are trying to access incident.caller ID and there is no existing ACL specifically for incident.caller ID on the system, what the system will try to do, it will see the parent table of incident. The parent table of incident is task. It will try to find out, is there any ACL for task.caller ID? If it finds one, it will go on to the next step. If no, it will go on to the third point. Now it will try to find out, is there a star dot field? Star means all the table and that specific field. For all the tables, any table it might be, dot caller ID, is there an ACL matching to that? If yes, it will go down. Next, if no, it will say table dot star. On the incident table dot star, is there an ACL written? If no, then it will go on to parent table dot star. If not, it will go on to star dot star. Okay, so in this sequence it is fine. Suppose it finds the first one, it will go to here. If it does not find, it will go to second, it will go to third, it will go to fourth. If it does not find anything, that will come over here. But if it finds anything, suppose if it finds third, then it will not go on to fourth, fifth, and sixth. It will not check for fourth, fifth, and sixth. It will come over here. Okay. Now what will happen? We have seen only for that particular field. Now I told you we need to see the table level access also. Now if a match is found and it will evaluate that ACL. Suppose that ACL is not giving access to user. Suppose I am trying to access incident.caller ID and there is an ACL which is not giving me access to that incident.caller ID. So it will directly go in and it will tell deny user access. Now suppose if this ACL incident.caller ID is giving me access. Now I have to go and check whether do I have access to the incident table or not. So if this match is found, and if it passes, it will go on to this iteration. First, it will try to find an ACL for that specific table. Then it will, if it finds a ACL for that specific table, it will try to match. It will try to grant access. If it passes, then it will find. If match found, it will try to evaluate. If passes there, it will grant access. If fails there, it will not grant access. After that specific table, it will try to go on to the parent table, and then it will try to go on to the star ACL. This is the execution order of entire ACL. Over here, if it does not find any match, it will grant access. It means you have given access to that field but you have not restricted anything on the table, so it will grant you access. If it has found an ACL, it will try to evaluate whether it is giving you access or not. If it gives you access, you have access to that field. If it fails, though you might have passed from here, but if this level fails, then you will not have access to that field. Is it
Okay.
somewhat making sense?
Yeah, I'm able to understand.
It will see this practically. If you see this diagram, you will understand. But it becomes little bit difficult when we go on to implement it. Okay,
Okay.
it becomes a little bit difficult when we want to implement. So if you have any issues that you might have written some ACL, you might be thinking that it should behave in a different fashion, but it is not behaving. Then you can come back and see this table, and you can try to analyze what is happening and what might be the conflict.
Okay.
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 Multiple. Okay. See this says if two or more rules match at the same point in the processing order, the user must pass any one of the ACL rule permission to access the object. This is a very important question for your interview. Oh, I did not forward you the interview question. I forgot it today, so tomorrow I'll do it positively. I forgot to stay in the business email. I forgot it today as well. Okay. This is a very important question for the interview. People will normally ask that if there is two matching ACL in the execution order, then will the user will have access to that system or not?
Okay.
Okay. So the answer is yes. If it passes one, the user will have access to that.
Okay.
Okay. So this is all theory about ACL. Okay, there is one more thing that I will you should know it how to do it, but don't try it at this point of time. Suppose if you want to debug ACLs, like how the ACL is working. So there is something called as, if you go on to debug over here, there is something called as debug security rules. Where it is gone? Debug security rules. If you click on this debug security rules, debugging will be activated. And suppose if you go on to any field, you will have this bug over here, over there. And if you click on that bug, it will tell
Okay.
you which ACL is giving you access and which ACL is denying access. Debug ACL.
Okay.
Don't try to use this as of now because these are very advanced and we have to understand the entire system setup and then only we can analyze what is happening in these things. Okay, this is all about ACL. Do you have any doubt in ACL? Only in the theory part,
No,
because
I don't have.
ACLs I'll practically, if I show you an example also, what I will do is I'll create a custom table and I'll show you that it is working on roles, but that will not give you clarity unless you see the system ACL or you understand how the system is set up. Because see, ACL is something, if you see the ACLs, if I go on to the ACLs, in total you have 4,603 ACLs that are already defined in the system, right? So if you have to write something new, you have to understand what is the baseline setup. How can I give access to somebody to something new, right?
Yeah.
So give me one second. So once you get mature into the system, then only you will be able to means write ACLs properly and do whatever is required with the ACL. There is one more thing that I want to tell you. See, I'm giving you very detailed information because these informations, if you don't feel these information is relevant, don't, I keep on repeating it again and again because these informations are something which I came to know after getting matured in the system for at least 2.5 years. So if you don't collaborate with all these information, don't put too much of brains into it. Like there is something called as default deny property in the system. That is also related to ACL. Okay, I am
Okay.
telling you all this because somebody might ask you in an interview. If somebody is taking a detailed interview, he might ask you all these things. There is something called as a default deny property. Suppose if I tell you that I create a new table altogether, I create a new table altogether. So I have not defined any ACLs on that, right?
Okay.
So will anybody have access to that table? Will everybody have access to that table?
So you have just created a table and left it over,
But
right? You did not.
define any ACL.
Yeah, I think there should be access to it.
There is something called as if you search in the wiki, there's something called as default deny property. Default deny is in the high security settings. Control F. Okay, so if you go to system property security, there is something called a security manager default behavior in absence of any ACL on the table. It says deny access or allow access. It depends upon this configuration. If you have put it as deny access, it will deny access to everybody until unless an ACL grants an access to that person. If you put allow access, it will give access to everybody irrespective of any ACL. If there is no ACLs written on it, so this is how it behaves. This property is important. Okay, and this is
Okay.
coming with a high security plugin. This is also a high security plugin. With the high security plugin, you get that elevated privilege and which default deny properties are there. Okay, this is all about ACLs.